Who's making it back in Smash 6? Hopefully not this guy, am I right? Or am I right, guys? No, I'm serious. I don't get the whole Waluigi hype train. Smash speculation. It's one heck of a subject. Guessing who's qualified to be represented in one of, if not the most popular crossover in gaming? One of the most fun things to do as a new game approaches is just trying to figure out who could possibly make it in. It's a fun time just trying to imagine what moveset they could have and what references they could do for said series. While we're currently living through probably the most dormant era of this franchise, with Ultimate being considered the end-all be-all of the Smash series, there's a lot of potential for what could go next. Though what matters is at least we have what is widely considered the best game we could ever ask for. With every single past franchise now being represented in Ultimate, I don't think we would ever need a new Smash for a very long time. Or not. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit underwhelmed with some of the characters we ended up getting. This made me look back to a lot of certain choices people used to make way before the Fighter Pass was even publicly announced. You see, for a very long time, the Smash community collectively agreed that a certain handful of characters should be in Ultimate. The difference here, however, is how, passionate a lot of these people were. I kid you not, you could not escape a single Smash leak without it mentioning someone like Waluigi, Gino, or Bandana D. These people desperately wanted these characters to get in, mentioning certain patterns, coming up with possible theories. Heck, they straight up looked at 2 chairs in a Nintendo Direct and started celebrating, like it meant Waluigi would make it in. Sure, some have made it in, like Banjo-Kazooie, though that's more of the exception than the rule. The important thing I'm trying to get at here is that those 3 characters I mentioned earlier really stood out for the Smash community. So why don't we have a little look back at those times? Now that Smash Ultimate is done, and with the possibility of a new game on the horizon, have the chances of these characters increased? Or will they simply never get into the game? There's only one way to know for sure. I'll go over the character, what kind of moveset fans have requested, and what the possibilities could be for them getting in. These are the Smash Brothers characters that never made it. Before we start, I just want to say that if you're enjoying our productions, or you want to see more Smash-related stuff from us, be sure to press that subscribe button. We're nearing 5,000 really soon, so if we get there by the end of the month, I'll be wearing this dress on our next production. Let's start with one, if not the most robbed characters ever from Smash Bros. As a whole, Bandana D. For those unaware, Waddle Dees originate from the Kirby franchise. They've always been treated as minions for the main antagonist of the series, King Dedede. However, it was until Kirby Superstar when we actually got a glimpse to one of the most popular characters in the series. You see, in Superstar, there's this one minigame called Megaton Punch, where you try to break a planet in half. These games are way crazier than I thought. But anyway, it's one of the minigames featured in there, and what do you know, this is where Bandana Waddle Dee first appears. Over time, he slowly but surely started getting a much bigger role in future games, so far as to being a fully playable character in titles like Return to Dreamland and Star Allies. Logically, this only made fans love the guy even more, including myself. I love these little creatures. They're just so adorable with their little bodies and not having any mouths. So having one of them actually becoming a part of the main cast? Count me in. The amount of potential this little guy has is insane, and I'm just shocked he wasn't at least part of the base roster for Ultimate. First off, Bandana D uses a spear as his main weapon. This is already enough to make him a pretty standout character among the roster. He can use that helicopter motion he does in the games as his recovery, throw spears as his side B, a stab you can charge up as his neutral B. There's just so much potential here. Luckily, you don't need to imagine that because fans have already gone out of their way to make this happen. There's so many different fan games, mods, and ROM hacks of existing Smash games that fully designed, modeled, and animated a playable Bandana D. And honestly, this is exactly what I'd imagine him to play like. The footage you're seeing here is part of a mod named Project PMEX Remix, and this just might be my favorite depiction of the character. He's somewhat floaty like Kirby, yet feels super agile and easy to use. With all this said, you might be thinking, well, if Waddle Dee has this much potential, how come Sakurai never added him? And honestly, I'm just as confused as you are. Sakurai is the creator of the Kirby series, he is the director, and there's pretty much nothing stopping him. It's really hard to say. If I had to come up with any theories in regards to this, I would suppose it's because he's been super focused on getting more third parties, and only using first parties that Nintendo recommended him to use. That's probably the best explanation. With all that said, will Bandana D ever come to a potential release of Ultimate, or heck, a new Smash game? Well, there's still a decent chance. He's still very popular to this day, with him appearing in more recent releases like Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So I guess it's just a matter of whether or not Sakurai directs and or any new director for the series recognizes his potential as a playable character. For that, I'm giving Bandana Waddle Dee a 7 out of 10 chance for making it in. I wasn't expecting to go for this long talking about him. Why don't we get into the next character? Who's next? Who is this guy again? Gino is a very interesting case when it comes to these highly requested characters, with his first and only true appearance being in Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. After that, he sort of almost became an inside joke for the series. Back around Brawl's development, Sakurai has been expressing a lot of interest in wanting him to be a fighter in the series. Since then, he's gotten an appearance in every game moving forward, his own trophy in Smash 4, Spirit in Ultimate, heck, he even got his own Mii costume in both games. So the desire he had for him to be there was pretty clear. This, in a sense, sort of just made him one of the most requested characters in Smash history. Now, in terms of potential movesets, this is where things get pretty interesting. To reference and showcase these, I'll be going over one of the movesets found in his fandom wiki. So, to start off, he'd basically have this unique attack buff gimmick. The way it works is for every special attack he does, he'll gain 3 stars over his head or over his portrait. For the 3rd star, it seems to have a bit of a timing window that you need to hit with a button press. If done right, you get a buff, but if you miss the timing, it'll nerf a bit of your damage. Pretty simple concept, but it's quite interesting. We have characters that can buff themselves for an advantage, but not in this sort of playstyle, which would be pretty neat to see. The basic and special moves aren't anything too crazy, however, most of them just seem to be skills that Gino was able to perform in his game. After going over that, honestly, I can now see a bit of the appeal for this character getting in. It's kind of sweet to have Smash characters advocating for a character Sakurai himself wants on the game. Aside from that, I'm sorry, but I have no real justification as to why people want him in that badly. Sure, it would be nice to have him in, but to the extent people hyped him up, I just don't get it. Whatever the case is, I'll be nice and give Gino a 50-50 shot of coming back. Though, at most, I can see them just porting over or redoing Gino's Mii costume. Shoot, we're not out of time yet. Let's do a lightning round. These are a handful of other characters people used to speculate or request on these leaks. While still popular, they were more out there choices, and most of them already have their own Mii costume. I felt bad not mentioning them at all, so this is the best way to go about it. First up, Dante. Absolutely love him. I love Devil May Cry, and I'm shocked he didn't get in on the roster. You could do so much with his Devil Trigger and different weapons he uses in the games. One idea I have is that you could have his down B act as a switch for different weapons, and you have to focus on doing combos to increase a meter. Said meter will be how long until you activate your Devil Trigger, which can help you deal even more damage and potentially finish your opponent. 50-50 shot of making it in for the next Smash game. Shadow, popular character, good moveset potential, and more Sonic reps would be great. Though I feel like Eggman would be a better choice. For that, I'll sadly give him a 4 out of 10 chance. Chorus Kids from Rhythm Heaven. I have no idea who even wanted these in, I just remember them appearing in that famous Grinch leak, so I just assumed people wanted them. Could be an interesting, silly character, but that's about it. 0 out of 10. Goku, not happening. Shrek, not happening. Rayman. Now, this one's a very interesting case because there's been some heavy speculation that he could come in because of one simple thing. So, in the battlefield stage, there's these small pieces of ice in the background. If you look closely, you can see a strange figure behind it. This somehow caused a lot of people to believe that Rayman would break out of the ice and become a playable character. Now, I will admit, it did seem sort of like that was a possibility, considering there was no assist trophy of him announced. Though, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think this was a really dumb theory. Smash speculation as a whole has always been super questionable, mostly based on certain patterns like this was all part of a big elaborate plan or something. But in terms of how Rayman could even work in Smash, he definitely deserves to be in. Would he ever make it to the next Smash game? Hard to say, but I'll give him a 50-50 shot. Now then, I think that's most of the characters that fans requested for Ultimate's roster. However, there's one last character I'd like to mention. One with so much attention, so much begging, you literally could not escape him. That's right, we're talking about Sans from Undertale. I'm telling you, every single Smash player, even Sakurai himself teased us with that iconic laugh he makes. Every single leak about this game, it's Sans. Everywhere you look, it's Sans. You could not escape him. He was everywhere. I just hit my chair. It's Waluigi. Need I say more about him? You know those moments where people say, you had to be there? That's exactly how I feel about this guy. You could not escape a single newcomer discussion without Waluigi being named. Everyone I knew, or most people online at least, really, really wanted him to be in Smash. Why? Memes. Just memes. I mean, otherwise I have no clue. It's just the memes. Well, for the most part. There's been a handful of reasons and decent arguments as to why he should be in Smash. One of the most common arguments used was that it would be nice to have both Wario and Waluigi playable alongside the Mario Brothers. Another of which was how he could play as a good Mario Party / sports representative. Both of which are completely valid, don't get me wrong, but begging Sakurai to the extent these people have, did people really want him in that badly? I may seem like a Waluigi hater, but I'd be lying if I said this meme of having him in the game didn't make me dislike him a lot more. That's a whole different discussion though. The important thing is, how would a moveset for him even work? While there are plenty of decent versions of how fans imagine him to play, like in the aforementioned mod, Project PMEX Remix, I feel like he'd be much better off having a moveset that references the spin-offs he's appeared in. For example, his side B can play out as him serving a tennis ball, and a recovery being one of his famous moves in the tennis games, the Waluigi. I don't know how I said that with a straight face. There is good potential for this character to actually be in Smash, I won't deny that, but personally, he's better off as an assist trophy in my opinion. And that's about it. Those are the Smash characters that never made it. Making this production was really entertaining, to be honest. I never really shared my thoughts on what characters I would have wanted to appear back when Ultimate was releasing, so I really hope this gave you all an idea for who I'd actually like to appear in a future game. Now, if you excuse me, I have a certain collab idea I want to do for a game that I will soon have more hours in than Smash Ultimate. This is Akarioi from Mintjoy Pictures. Seriously though, we should have gotten Goku for Smash, I'm just saying.